Right now on the National Weather Desk, unhealthy air. We have team coverage as smoke from Canadian wildfires blankets portions of the east.
I am feeling that smoke in my lungs, my chest.
Also, a look at how breathing the smoke can hurt your health.
Asthma or bronchospasm, some inflammatory type of lung issues.
And how the smoke impacts your pets and animals.
We're just keeping fans on to keep airflow, even in open barns.
In honor of World Ocean Day, we'll check in on Patricia, a 1,300-pound leatherback sea turtle.
It's rare to see anything like that. It definitely gave us all some excitement.
And when is the best time of day to water your plants?
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie. Smoky skies and unhealthy air are once again settled over much of the eastern portion of the United States, and you can blame wildfires in Canada for that. Thick smoke from up north is turning blue skies gray and obscuring the sun in cities like Washington, New York, State College, Pennsylvania, and even Cincinnati. Now, unfortunately, it's sticking around in some places for another few days. New York City experienced some of the worst air quality in the world. This time lapse shows how the skyline went from gray to orange in just a matter of hours. Anyone outside could smell the burnt ash. Here is another before and after view. This one from New Jersey. Blue skies one day, orange haze the next. As we said, this is the result of Canada's worst ever wildfire season. More than 400 forest fires are still active this morning. Following a call with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, President Biden is sending all available federal firefighting assets to help put out the fires. Meteorologist Brian Vandegraff is tracking the smoke this morning. Brian, how long will it linger over the country?
Oh, Emily, the next couple of days for sure, and then it's going to start to lift out of here as we get a big pattern change. But where you see these grayish colors, that's all the smoke. And where you see the orange and yellows, that's the thickest smoke there through western New York, upstate New York, down through Pennsylvania, and even into the metro D.C. area. But it's the northeast quadrant of the U.S. that is experiencing the thickest smoke. Now, let's talk about what happens moving forward. The darker, the brighter the colors, the thicker the smoke. Through the day, you can continue to see this smoke plume continue to shift southward. That gives a little bit of reprieve through portions of upstate New York and portions of New England. As we head later tonight into tomorrow, this wave really pushes into the metro area for D.C., Baltimore, Philly, and then eventually it starts to rotate out of here as the system to the north and east rotates out. It will eventually pull it away, but it's a big pattern shift that will happen over the weekend that I think will finally spell relief for a good chunk of the northeastern portion of the United States.
All right, thanks, Brian. Now let's check in with our team in many of the cities that are shrouded with smoke. Let's start with Joy Wang in Washington, D.C.
Been seeing people running and biking in the area without a mask on, and I really don't know how they're doing it. It's definitely not what experts recommend because I am feeling that smoke in my lungs. My chest feels pretty heavy right now. In fact, all morning we have been seeing those smoky and hazy conditions, and behind me you can see the Lincoln Memorial. Right next to it, the Washington Monument, which you're supposed to see pretty clearly, but that is not the case today while we are under this code red air quality alert. In fact, it seems like just a shadow. That's what you're seeing when you're supposed to see a clear Washington Monument.
We are getting a check on, really we chose this location for these last two hits just because you really do get a sense of looking up toward Canada, up that way, how murky it is. And you can see a little bit of that haze kind of still on top of Rochester right now. But as Morty said, a much, much clearer day today than it has been.
If you step outside, you might be able to smell the smoke as well. Cities and towns all across the area are once again experiencing record high air quality levels. Sports and recess were canceled at schools across the region because of unsafe air quality ranges. In Connecticut, the Interscholastic Athletic Conference postponed the lacrosse state tournament and tennis semifinals. Airports have also been forced to delay flights. Officials say the smoke could last until the weekend.
Air quality advisories are in effect for many parts of the U.S., with nearly 75 million Americans at risk. Medical reporter Liz Bonas takes a look at exactly how the smoke can impact your health.
Hey there, everybody. Short term, they tell us poor air quality can impact a number of things, including your eyes by causing irritation, as well as your nose, your throat, and your lungs.
Things do wind me very quickly, but it's better than it used to be. I can catch my breath and breathe a lot faster than before.
For those such as Kara Overstake, who's had breathing problems since she had COVID-19, poor air quality can hit hard. Public health provider Dr. Steve Fagans told me within minutes, this type of air can make it hard to catch your breath.
Is especially asthma or bronchospasm, some inflammatory type of lung issues.
His suggestion to those who struggle with these?
During the day, we recommend individuals who are at risk to not exert a lot outside.
Runners and walkers, he says, may need to reduce mileage or pace. It's also suggested you stay ahead of symptoms by taking medications regularly and making sure they are up to date. Going outdoors when the air quality is poor, he says, feel free to bring back the mask. It, too, can help filter out particulate matter that's in the air. So here's what you need to know. Airnow.gov is the EPA's website. It allows people to track air quality. You simply have to enter your zip code. And many smartphones have apps that also track air quality. Dr. Fagans does remind us that if you don't have air conditioning, outdoor air is indoor air. So pay attention to any unusual symptoms.
Know where wildfire smoke is headed? In recent years, scientists have started relying on a technology that's typically used by airports. It's called the ceilometer. It's used to inform aircraft pilots about cloud heights and to aid in takeoff and landing, but it's now become a frontline tool in tracking wildfire smoke. Rebecca Stevenson has more.
Every wildfire smoke plume is different from the direction it is traveling, how high or low smoke is relative to the ground, and what gas and particulates the plume holds. There are no simple patterns that repeat season to season and fire to fire. Forecasting the constant ebb and flow of a smoke plume becomes critical because of the massive release of carbon and other harmful particles that wreak havoc on our lungs and health if breathed in. Air quality agencies observe, forecast, and alert us when air quality is declining. They have a difficult job that starts with identifying where wildfire smoke is and where it will be moving. From space, satellites have features that detect smoke plumes from above, but when the smoke is concealed or underneath the clouds, the challenge to observe smoke becomes difficult to impossible. This is where a ceilometer complements other observation tools. It is used to find and verify where the smoke is, the height, and its composition by looking from the ground up. Smoke at higher altitudes, up to 25,000 feet, can be detected by a laser from the ceilometer. The instrument measures the time required for a pulse of light to be scattered back from the clouds and tiny particles in the air.
Our team of meteorologists are also posting the latest on the wildfire smoke in real time on their social media accounts. Here's a post the National Weather Desk meteorologist Matt Ritter posted on Instagram about the smoke here in Northern Virginia. The wildfire
Taking a quick look at the smoke and haze from the rooftop right now, it is even worse than yesterday. Usually you can see the Washington Monument and the Capitol clearly from this vantage point. This is awful stuff. I'm going back inside where I can breathe.
All right, stay safe, Matt. Wildfire smoke from Canada is expected to continue impacting the U.S. through the end of the week. To see the latest updates, be sure to follow us on your favorite social media accounts. We'll have the most recent posts from our meteorologists across the country. All you have to do is search the National Weather Desk or scan the QR code on the bottom left corner of your screen. Now let's head to Hawaii, where Kilauea volcano started erupting Wednesday morning. So far, no immediate danger to any populated areas. All of the activity is contained within Hawaii's Volcanoes National Park. But geologists say high levels of potent volcanic gas can have far-reaching effects downwind. The last time Kilauea erupted was in January and showed signs of heightened unrest in May. Now, coming up on the National Weather Desk, we have been talking about wildfire smoke and how it impacts your health. When we come back, we'll look at how to protect your pets from the smoke-filled air. And it's turtle nesting season. We'll talk with an expert about how Atlantic sea turtles lay their eggs and how you can track them.
Hi, everyone. I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. That thick smoke that's been plaguing parts of the Northeast over the last couple of days, the thickest is starting to make its way out into the ocean. We're still dealing with some smoke in southern New England, New York, New Jersey through the afternoon today. That's about 2 o'clock. Farther to the north, though, we just have more clouds and some on and off showers. In fact, there will be some pop-up showers area-wide during the afternoon. This is 2 o'clock. Temperatures look seasonably cool. There'll be more pop-up showers on Friday as well.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. As we work our way through Thursday, a weather maker moving through. It's a little disturbance. Notice some of the showers and thunderstorms sprouting up portions of the eastern side, eastern shore of Maryland, the Delmarva, and then the Tidewater of Virginia as we work into Thursday afternoon. Those push eastbound, and otherwise outside of that, maybe just a stray shower. But what you'll notice most is a lot of haze and still some smoke from the Canadian wildfires and temperatures near 80. That's the scene here.
A good Thursday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Michael Arenberg. Here's a look at your southeast regional forecast for this Thursday. Some showers and storms will be developing along the sea breezes during the midday and afternoon hours for much of the Florida peninsula, especially south and central Florida. More storms sprinkled through parts of South Georgia, South Alabama, moving offshore later in the day, and even impacting parts of the extreme southern South Carolina. High temperatures are going to be hot 80s for most of the southeast. Could be some low 90s in Jacksonville.
The National Weather Desk.
Another pressing concern with the degraded air quality from the wildfire smoke is the health of pets and farm animals. Those with pets at home are encouraged to keep them indoors. Jackie Napier spoke to folks at a local farm to understand the impact of their animals and what's being done to ensure their safety.
While this poor air quality can be irritating for people, it's important to recognize animals are also affected. Veterinarians say animals with cardiovascular or respiratory diseases are especially at risk.
Just like with humans, if there's any concerns or a medical issue that affects their lungs, it could make it harder for them to breathe as well.
Due to the unprecedented nature of the situation, the farm director at Lollipop has been seeking guidance from other parts of the country.
We looked up what they are doing in the West with wildfires because that's the same type of situation. This is a wildfire that's not toxic, but it is noxious fumes.
The staff at Lollipop Farm is diligently monitoring the health and stress levels of their farm animals, taking proactive measures to bring animals indoors whenever possible.
Providing plenty of water. They all have shelter to go into, and then we're just keeping fans on to keep airflow, even in open barns. We just want to have that air flowing around.
The Seneca Park Zoo has been closed indefinitely. In line with the approach at Lollipop, certain zoo animals are being relocated to indoor enclosures as zookeepers strive to minimize the adverse effects of poor air quality.
As we head deeper into the summer months, there are other risks facing your pets. The high temperatures can be a beast on their paws. Meteorologist John Gum explains.
Let's take a day where the air temperature is 95 degrees, for instance. Well, in the grass, in the shade, the temperature may actually be a little lower, only around 90 degrees on that shaded grass. You get to grass that's in the sun, though, that temperature can soar as high as 105 degrees. You get to concrete, and on a 95-degree day in the sun, that concrete temperature can reach up around 125 degrees. However, the blacktop, that is the worst. On a 95-degree day, the temperature of that blacktop can go upwards of 140 degrees or higher. And that could be a big problem for our four-legged friends. Pall burns can occur in about 5 minutes at 120 degrees. You ramp that temperature up to 140 degrees, the pall burns can happen in about 1 minute flat. So it's important to remember that if it's too hot for your bare feet, it's too hot for our four-legged friends.
The hotter weather also means harvest time for Georgia's blueberry crops, and growers say it's shaping up to be a good year for many producers. As Greg Lloyd reports, it's all about the weather.
The steady hum of the harvester. It's a welcome sound that signals a good year here at Anna's Garden Blueberry Farm in Wilcox County.
We have some bushes that are not large enough to withstand the harvester, so we do hand pick those.
The harvester sits tall to allow it to be driven slowly over a row of blueberry bushes without damaging them. These sway bars gently knock the ripe berries off the trees. A conveyor belt sends them to the top of the harvester. The berries fall directly into bins, which workers stack on pallets. The berries are shipped to a packaging company and then ultimately go to giant manufacturing company Dole.
That's one thing that's fun about this venture is you never know where your berries will end up.
Despite a final punch from Old Man Winter in March of this year in the form of a harsh cold snap, the berries here at Anna's Garden are yielding pretty well this year.
And we can spray water over these berries, and that water forms a barrier of protection over the berries, and then it'll melt off. So we had to run freeze protection 4 different nights, but it worked for us and our berries survived.
But last year, Anna's Garden lost 80% of its crop, all over a plunge of just a few degrees.
It got 29 here, and our berries here can weather maybe 32, 31, but when it gets below that, it doesn't matter what you do, the cold is pretty much going to get them.
But Elizabeth McQuaig McIntyre says no matter the challenges of farming, the benefits always far outweigh any disadvantages.
All right, but if you're a fan of fresh Georgia peaches, you may be out of luck this season. The peach state has lost most of this year's crop, over 90% of it. Georgia usually produces over 130 million pounds of peaches each year. Crops like peaches require a certain number of chill hours, ranging between 32 and 45 degrees. But this year, the state didn't have enough of those cold hours for many varieties that were planted. Experts say warmer winters are causing problems for crops. Well, today is World Oceans Day. In honor of that, we wanted to tell the story of Patricia, a 1,300-pound leatherback sea turtle who was spotted last week laying eggs on Florida's Jupiter Beach. Now, originally tagged back in 2005, Patricia has not been seen since 2013. I recently sat down with an expert to learn more about Patricia's movements and to find out when her eggs are expected to hatch.
Come about 2 a.m., this turtle comes out of the water, and we're sitting there waiting for another turtle that we knew was coming up. And saw her, and I was like, oh, she looks really big. And when she was ready to nest, we walked up to her and scanned her, and it was just Patricia is the leatherback's name, and she was just a monster. I mean, this turtle was massive. It's rare to see anything like that. It definitely gave us all some excitement.
All right, so give me a little background on Patricia. Do you know how old she is, how much she weighs? Does she have any health issues?
We don't actually know how old she is. That's kind of one of the million-dollar questions with sea turtles is how old are they? But she has been nesting for 20 years, and we believe that sea turtles take about 20 to 30 years to reach maturity to be able to nest. So Patricia is at least in her 40s, maybe in her 50s. So, pretty old. She did clock in at 1,316 pounds, which is the largest that we've ever weighed. What was kind of remarkable about Patricia is, we document all of the injuries on these animals. We give them a complete physical health assessment. We take blood, and usually leatherbacks of this size that have been around for that long have a lot of injuries on them, either from shark predation or boat strikes or fishing entanglement or things like that. And Patricia had nearly zero injuries.
And she nested, right? So are you going to track the nest as well? And when can we expect Patricia's offspring to come out?
Yeah, so she nested a few days ago on June 2nd. So typically leatherbacks that lay nests this time of year will take about 60 days to incubate. We expect her maybe to return in 8 to 10 days to lay her next clutch of eggs.
And a new study shows sea ice could temporarily disappear from the Arctic about a decade earlier than predicted. The researchers say a total melt is possible in the 2030s during the month of September, when levels tend to be the lowest. They blame human-caused pollution, but say reducing it would still result in an ice-free Arctic by the 2050s. That's more dire than the prognosis that the UN put out in 2021. The research analyzed satellite data and climate models over a 40-year period. And now time to go to a short break, but first we have views of Miami Beach, Florida from above.
Well, a very good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. Taking a look at your Midwest weather story today. Got some 90s out across the far plains there, but kind of a backdoor cold front swinging in for us with some rain, but a little cooler across a lot of the Great Lakes in the Ohio Valley. As we head into the day tomorrow, pretty much the same story, just slightly cooler across the plains with some of that rain. As we head into your Saturday, that rain starts moving back the opposite direction, and temperatures in the 70s and 80s.
Good Thursday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Huchan. Our forecast today across the region, keeping an eye out. Austin, Houston, San Antonio, down to Corpus Christi, where we might get a couple of storms that could produce warnings for wind and some hail. Otherwise, you see temperatures 80s and 90s across the board. And we head into Friday's forecast, and the theme will be getting hotter. That will become the dominant headline. Could still see a few storms, but notice the temperatures 80s and mid-90s across Texas.
Well, hi there, everybody. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Thursday, providing a bit of a respite from the heat in parts of the Pacific Northwest. Back down to a comfortable 76 today in the Emerald City and 81 out of Portland. 90 in Vegas. You see the chance for showers and thunderstorms spinning through Salt Lake City, Boise, and back into Billings, Montana, as this low, this next weather maker, sits over the Sierra Nevada. And that's the scene from here.
Watching the National Weather Desk.
We are getting closer to the official start of summer, meaning temperatures are going to keep climbing. So what does that mean for outdoor gardens, and how do we keep them healthy? Meteorologist Natalie Walters recently did a post on TikTok about when to water your plants as temperatures start to increase. Let's check it out.
Well, many places across the U.S. have been struggling to get any precipitation, so your grass and your flowers may be struggling, but when is the best time to water your plants? First, try to avoid watering during the afternoon where it's the hottest point of the day. The water will evaporate quickly and not absorb into the root and into the soil. The best time to water will be the coolest time of the day, which is the early morning hours. The heat during the day will actually help prevent fungus from forming. And if you're not an early bird like I am, or maybe you forget, the evenings will be the next best time.
We'd love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. All right, and we want you to remind you to check out our podcast. It's called Off the Radar. In this week's episode, you can find out why the northern lights make noise and hear exactly what they sound like. You can find Off the Radar wherever you get podcasts. Thanks for joining us. Tomorrow on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at why researchers are studying old churches to help build more hurricane-resistant buildings in the future. I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie. Make it a great Thursday. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.